Andrew McQuarter's Eagles had Optus Stadium rocking on Sunday afternoon as the club rampaged their way home in a 17-point nail-biter, the first win for the club in 308 days. You're listening to the Golden Wings podcast. Massive episode coming up right after this. All right, we're back for round two. Rhino, mate, it's good to have you alongside me again. Great debut last week. How are you?
Yeah, good, mate. Good, mate. What a result from the boys on the weekend. And how are you, mate? How was your weekend?
Yeah, I was good. Much happened this weekend?
Not much, mate. I was kind of prepping myself for the North Melbourne game, quite nervous. I was going into the game. I was thinking, it could be a whitewash, but the boys turned up, especially in those middle parts of the game. What do you think about the maturity the boys showed during the game?
Geez, it's just nice to wake up and be on the right side of the winners list, sitting in at 12th on the ladder as well, which getting altitude sickness, mate. I'm not used to being up this high, I think, but that's a shit joke. But no, as you said, the maturity was really good to see and just a really telling performance for the boys. Obviously needed to win this one. Started off against Gold Coast in not so great fashion, and so coming into probably the only winnable game really for the first few rounds. If we had have lost this one, it was looking like a pretty shocking start to the season. So good to be in the winners list, mate. I'm really looking forward to unpacking it today with you. You were at the ground. Can you tell us a little bit about the atmosphere?
Yeah, the atmosphere was electric out there. The first quarter, even though we were getting pumped, the crowd was still in the game, was still trying to pump the boys up. And then when the second quarter came out, the boys came out of the sheds, kind of controversial, went into the sheds in the first quarter. You're thinking, what are the boys doing? Why are they going into the sheds? It was confusing me. And then Minnie came out in an interview saying the humidity was a bit higher, but came to work out, I guess. In the second quarter, we came out firing. I haven't seen the boys play like that in a long, long time. What do you reckon?
Oh, it's so true. And it was a really telling game, I think, for Andrew McQuarter as well. Obviously, had a really tough start to his coaching career last year, but I think we got to see his game style on show. And there's been a lot of talk about the McQuarter game style, the run and gun Eagles. We haven't quite been able to execute with the lack of skills over the last however long it's been. So that's been very difficult for him to try and play his way. And he's copped a lot of criticism so far in his coaching career, but I think it's really important that those critics give him his flowers for this game because it was all him, to be honest. We saw with some decent skill work and some composure in the contest, a little bit of clearance dominance as well as we touch on, just how powerful this lineup can be. And geez, it was just nice to see the young talent popping up out of nowhere almost to just put the team on the back. You talk about some of these early draft picks. Harley Reid was enormous. Cooper Duff-Tyler looked unbelievable. Willem Dersmer as well. All of a sudden, you can see that this Eagles list is going places. And have they leapfrogged North Melbourne in the rebuild again after winning a flag when they were probably starting? I think that it's a great result. So personally, I think for me, every time that a player got the ball and did something good on the weekend, you can look and say, that's a 200 gamer for us right there. And it just kept happening, mate, all over and over again. And we just saw the list has so much young talent, which we know. But once we're in the winning age bracket, which is going to be a couple years in the future, look out, mate. It's going to be absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, it's so powerful. Like, you're thinking like matching up, but they're a powerful side, North Melbourne. They got Davey Juniak. Sheasel can break a game open with one kick, but our boys really matched it with him. Sheasel got a crazy amount of touches, but I think only got like 4 score involvements for the game. So we really shut him out of the game, getting him involved going into the front half of the game. He couldn't really impact his teammates around him. Nick Larkley was really shut out in the last 3 quarters of the game. Ruben Jimmy did an unbelievable job in the 1%ers, spoils, marks. It was unbelievable. How good can that kid be?
Absolutely, mate. As we said before, like right off the top, I don't even know where to start with this one, but we keep it rolling. There's just so many positives. So looking forward to unpacking some of the performers a little bit later on. But as you said, probably just to round out the intro there, it was just good to see a system playing really good footy for each other. The boys really bought into the McQuarter style of footy, as we said right off the top. And I thought that was really telling. And we'll touch on it a little bit later, but I feel like everyone played their role to a reasonable extent. And you talk about some pickups and some of the high draft picks, but Milan Murdoch kicking the sealer. Before we get into the episode, mate, can you just walk us through that moment and the atmosphere in the crowd? It just sounded like the stadium was going to fall in on itself.
Well, he started the Eagles chant after that goal. It was unbelievable. Went on for like 3 or so minutes. He just breaks the game open. He is absolutely electric. The electrician trade must have done bits for him because he is bloody lightning out of the forward line. He's running miles sprints. He's quick, he's electric, he's strong, he's tough, he's tackling. And he deserves all the credit he's getting. He's the highest rated player for the Eagles in the past 2 games of the season. Unbelievable.
Crazy.
Guy was about to get his trade 2 days before the bloody game.
Oh, it's unbelievable, isn't it? And I think we'll touch on him in the MVPs a little bit later because he's well and truly earned another spot in there. But just to cover off quickly before we do jump into the main episode and cover off on all the amazing positives that came out of this one, unfortunately, Harry Edwards is set for a long stint on the sidelines after another head knock. His career is sort of in the balance a little bit. We're not going to delve into that, but we hope he's okay. And it was really flattening to see him go down, but really positive to see the boys rally after that. Obviously, not ideal circumstances, but we hope he's okay with another head knock, 2 in a couple of weeks to start the season. Rhino, there's no better way to get us back on track, mate, than with my favourite segment, and that's Ryan's rant. Now, your bit got a great response in the DMs last week, and I think we all enjoyed a little bit of tough love to kick us off. Get a little bit of frustration out. How did you go this week? Such a big win for the footy club. Did you manage to find a flaw in this one?
Look, it's a great win, but I'll keep it short and sweet this week because the performance was unbelievable for the majority of the game, but our start to the last few games have been pretty poor. 5 and 1 goals from turnovers in the first quarter, only the 1 mark in the first 9 minutes. We just couldn't get the footy. There was some really poor discipline in that first quarter with quite a few errors from Duggan, McCarthy with a turnover. Yowie missed a poor tackle on Davy Juniac out on the wing. Davy Juniac kicks inside 50, they get a goal. But other than that, mate, the last 2 quarters, like second quarter and the third quarter, was probably the best I've ever seen the Eagles play in the last 5 years, I reckon. They were unbelievable. We got 12 goals 6 to 4 goals 0 from quarter 2 to quarter 3. We were totally dominant. And there was a stat that came out, don't fact check me on this, but we were in the front half for 95% of the time in the second quarter at some point in the game. You guys listening back will have a look at that on Fox Footy, but don't quote me on that. But that was 100% something I saw. And mate, absolutely great week. I'm not going to rant too much. That's it for this week and we'll move on. That's great performance. What about it, Kurt? What do you think?
No, I love it. It's good to keep it short and sharp, obviously, with a W. And I think really promising off the back of that. Yes, it was a horrible start, as you said, and we need to iron that out because that's going to be a real problem for us. It's going to be hard to win games if we're chasing. Obviously, played 3 really good quarters. So that's probably the main thing, I think, going into quarter time, into the rooms, as you said, which was a little bit weird.
Yeah, that was weird.
But obviously worked out well for us. I think you could have excused them for going into their shell and, letting North run away with the win, but that's not what we saw. We saw a complete opposite, and they came out and not only clawed the lead back, but then got themselves a really good lead too, and were able to hang on in the end with some momentum swinging late. So I thought it was a really mature performance and one that is going to hold us in really good stead for the rest of the year now, and just such good, valuable experience for these youngsters,
100%.
As we said. All right, it's time to take a closer look at some of the top performers. Let's get into the Golden Wings MVP. To be honest, Rhino, mate, it was bloody hard to nail these down to just 5 players.
It was really hard after a win.
Mate, if you look across the board, you could argue that just about everyone held up their end of the bargain. I know that a lot of people had some grievances with Matt Flynn. He did get monstered in the ruck, but he was able to kick goal of the year.
He was.
In a clutch time. So,
I kind of feel bad for last week. I'm not going to lie, mate, but all is forgiven. All is forgiven. Hands up. Hands up.
No, with that said, we have come away with our votes and some honourable mentions as well. So
100%.
Why don't you kick us off with your best on ground, mate? I think we've settled on the same guy.
Yeah, we've both settled Harley Reid. How unbelievable performance. He was getting absolutely pummeled to the ground, getting abused by the North players. He just held his own, kept his composure, got the 30 touches.
Yeah.
That's all you can ask for a third-year player into his career. So young still and leading the midfield, leading the disposals, led the game really, was bossing it running with runs on the wing, runs through the centre, setting up teammates. In the first quarter, he was a bit shaky with a few of his kicks, but once he composed himself into the game, he was unbelievable. And this moves forward into our next pick, who we both also agreed on, Milan Murdoch. How good is that guy?
Yeah, absolutely. And 2 really stark contrasts there with obviously the backgrounds coming into the game. Harley, the pick 1, and then Milan only just making his way onto the list 2 weeks ago. But for Harley, geez, it was just such a mature performance, wasn't it? And we're going to keep using that word throughout this episode today.
Mature.
But I feel like everything went through him, through the centre of the ground, and 100%. He really was the engine for this win and very instrumental in keeping us in it late on in that first when it could have really got ugly, and then also helping us work our way back in and ending up taking the win. Probably unlucky not to have a couple of goals too.
Oh, yeah.
With some,
a few touched
a
on.
poster and a touched as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, geez, he was shattered with that. But Milan Murdoch, as you said, taking out our 4 votes unanimously as well. And we say everything went through Harley through the middle, but up forward, it feels like everything goes through Milan. I'll pull up his stats right now. I posted about it on Instagram this morning, but just some of the most ridiculous stats you'll see for someone coming in across a half forward. 16 disposals, 12 of them contested.
12 contested.
Doing the hard stuff, 10 tackles. And he's able to kick 2 goals, man. One of them the sealer, both in pivotal moments just through sheer work rate. Yeah. You want to touch on some of his off-ball work a little bit later, which I'm looking forward to in a new segment. But the highest rated player for the Eagles this season, as you said, like the script just writes itself with this guy. And it's unbelievable to see. Who did you have in for your number 3, mate? Another Eagle able to make a bit of an impact up forward?
Yeah, look, the old fella, Jamie Cripps. I mean, 3 goals, 8 score involvements, 10 possessions. That's for a half forward. That's all you want. That's like the best you can probably do for a game. He was unbelievable. His pressure up forward still looked like the young version of himself. But honestly, like you put Ruben down, he was unbelievable. We'll catch on with him. He's a great bloke.
Yeah. Just on Cripper, I think he popped his shoulder out as well.
Did he?
So, I'm certain of it. The shoulder came out. I saw him put back in. So, I don't know how much impact he had on the game post that, but I know he was still out on the ground. So, we might miss him for a few weeks, unfortunately. We'll just see where that ends up. But, geez, what a performance. And I had him in for a 1 vote as well for me. Yeah. As you said, Ruben Jinby took out my 3. I think that watching the game back, it wasn't something I noticed in the first take. I just got caught up in the moment a little bit, but his defensive efforts were insane. And it's no surprise to us at all. It's trademark Ruben, to be honest. But playing with a toe concern, as we know, he's going to be playing injured this year. And you wouldn't tell the way he's moving and the way that he's defending. Killed absolutely anything that came his way and was massive, especially late on in the game. So 3 votes for me. We've settled again on the 2 with Elliot Yeo, and you can walk me through a couple of his goals, mate, because you had some really good seats, I believe, at the stadium.
I was sat like right in line with Elliot Yeo for that last goal. It was unbelievable. And then you could just, all the boys, me and my brother were running down to the stairs, seeing the scrap that was going on at the end of the quarter. It was great. Great to see the boys go for the fight, getting the 30-point lead in the third quarter. Huge moment in the game. That last goal from Elliot Yeo really put us in good stead. 30 points is kind of like a safety net going into that last quarter. And I couldn't be more pleased with Elliot, how he got involved with the game, putting some pressure in the midfield, went up forward, went down back, took some marks. Just instrumental in the game, in getting Harley when Harley got elbowed, saying, "Who's this bloke who just got you?" And then running into the pack and starting on with a few of the other boys. It's good to see the Mongols still in Elliot Yeo. Must have missed so much footy, and it's sad to see, but it's great to see Elliot instrumental in getting us over the line in the game. What do you think, Kurt?
Yeah, we always knew that if we were going to win games, we'd need him out on the park, doing what he does best and dragging this footy club over the line. And I thought it was just so good to see him back. And you could see celebrating the goals, enjoying the scraps as well, just how much it meant to him to be back out on the park. So, no, that was really good to see. And definitely a highlight for all of us, I think. You've gone a different way with your 1 vote, mate. Who did you have in?
I had Jack Graham. I think watching it down the field, you don't really see the off-ball stuff that he does, but he was unbelievable. Only the 8 contested possessions, but his tackling pressure was elite for the game. That's what he was brought in to do from Richmond. That's his style of play. Just disrupt the midfield, disrupt the forwards trying to get through. Got some holding the ball free kicks. That's what you want from Jack Graham. That's what he's brought in to do. And it's unbelievable to see his leadership during that game. Him and Liam Baker were great. Underrated players, CDT, Willem Dersma, Dev Robertson in our honourable mentions. What do you reckon, mate?
Yeah, absolutely. Like as we said before, it was so hard to cut this down to 5. And so some of the honourable mentions, which we'll quickly run through. I thought that Barwellen followed up with another really strong game. He was pivotal in a lot of scoring chains early on. Like it felt like a lot of our scores, especially early on in the game, came through him off halfback, which I know you want to touch on a little bit later as well.
Yeah.
So I thought he was excellent and just really good to get some confidence. He looks like a confidence player.
100%.
And again, just one of those guys who every time you got the footy, you go, yeah, there's another 200 gamer for us. And it's going to be so pivotal, these guys coming along. We talk about that draft. Job Shanahan was taken with our next pick after him. And the swingman abilities are going to be really, really valuable a brimming tall forward line. His set shot's unreal as well.
Yeah.
Vice-like hands. He just does it all, mate.
Just forgetting that this guy's at 19 years old and he's
Crazy.
swinging key defender, key forward, and he's doing it all. Did you see the goal from the pocket?
Yeah.
That's an elite finish for anyone of any age to put that through and just keeping the momentum. You got a crummer too, like from a random contest in the middle, got the crumb goal. And then he was forced to go down back when Harry went down. This guy could be anything for us. He could go centre half back. He can go full forward. It's great to have that option when we've got players like Archer Reed, Harry Edwards going down, Ruben. He can fill in these positions, and it's great to see that we've drafted so well in the key position players like our key forwards and our key backs, and the midfield will just integrate itself over time when the age profile goes up with Willem and Harley. So yeah, it's great to see how the future's going to turn out for the boys.
Absolutely. And I've been so big on that on this podcast as well. People remember during the draft period and the trade period as well. I actually compared West Coast and North, and how North have gone very midfield centred in their rebuild, and they've got all these mids now who are firing and ready to go, but they've got no one to kick it to.
That's right.
They've got no one looking after him in defence. So whereas we've done well, we've drafted the talls who take a little bit of time, and now you see us starting to stockpile the midfielders. Harley's obviously there. Willem will come on in time. Duff Tyler will be ready to go in the ruck, and by the time they're ready to go, so will our talls. So I think that we've done a great job in the rebuild as it is with the drafting. And as you say, it's going to definitely look after us. Hey, Archer Reed is another tall.
Archer Reed.
That we've drafted. Mate, followed up again from a pretty solid game last week. His set shot was much improved, kicking a couple.
Yeah, you can see his drop ball would really improve. I'd heard Minnie in the press conference say how the forward coach had really been working on that with him on his drop, and you can really see like it was really smooth action. It looked really pristine. It went through the middle like straight away. You can just tell, oh, this is a great shot. Perfect
We've
shot.
been big on that too.
Big on that, yeah.
Like,
that's what we drafted him for. He's a great kick. But I think he struggled under the pressure, and now that he's got a few goals and he's got the momentum, we're going to see a bit more from Archer Reed, especially in the contested marks. The guy's the tallest forward we have. Yeah, it's great to see Archer, what he's doing. He's still young. Like it's weird to say, but we are such a young list. Yeah. And some of these talls are getting early development in really quickly, and we're going to see for years to come, like Job, Archer, CDT. That's
insane forward line.
Elite.
We're forgetting about Jake Waterman too. Like it's just
all Australian.
It's going to be so much fun. And as you said, it was just good to see him riling up the crowd, having a little bit of fun.
Yeah.
Really good to see. Willem Dersma, again, another early pick. We've got so many. Just oozes class. Yeah. Doesn't need a lot of the footy to make an impact, as we saw. I think he might have had single digit disposals, but kicked a couple. I think he might have had 15 in the end. But yeah, kicked a couple. Really big goals as well in the context. The spoil where he tapped it down to himself, finished off his own work. Unbelievable work. Really good to see. And his partner in crime, Cooper Duff Tyler, who last week I said was my boy, my favourite player. It was just,
I think we can agree that this guy's probably got the brightest future for us. He is
crazy.
Unbelievable. His ground ball work for a 200 centimetre, just the ability to get below your ankles, get the perfect handball off. This Cripps scored a great goal from him, shoving someone out the way, getting the ground ball, handballing it off. People are forgetting this guy's a ruckman and he's 18 years old and he's playing in the forward line like a crummer. What can this guy do for an 18-year-old? It's great. The highlight reel is going to be insane this season.
And as we said, like he should be having 5 touches in the watch at this stage of his development as a first-year ruckman. So we knew that he wasn't going to do that. We knew he was going to come in and have some form of impact. Probably didn't expect it to be this much, but hey, he's already probably outperforming Oscar Allen as it is, which is just insane. And he's got a long, long career ahead of him, which is just so exciting. Fits the modern ruck rules so well, as we said. And I just can't wait to see him partnering up with Willem and Harley in the midfield. We talk about when these guys have 100, 150 games under their belt, they're going to be absolute warriors. And the talent is just going to be insane. Speaking of warriors, someone that I couldn't quite fit into my top 5 MVP, but someone who definitely had a good day, again, following up from another really good game last week, was Devon Robertson with his incredible work rate. We'll talk about him a little bit later.
Yeah.
I've got him in the crosshairs for my big call, but his skills aren't elite, but gee, he does everything with a tenacity and an urgency and a passion that I think is contagious, and he's been such a great addition coming in as a DFA. You can't ask for much more than that.
No, 100%. People are forgetting this guy was the WA captain going into this draft year, drafted by Brisbane, going into the hardest midfield to break into. We get him over for a free agent. probably one of our best pieces of business. Oscar Allen, we got Brandon Starcevic,
Who we haven't even seen yet.
and CDT in the second pick. That has got to be the best piece of business I've seen in a long time. But we'll go to Tim Kelly next. Tim Kelly, a bit under the radar, but
he was under the radar, wasn't he? But I saw something on Twitter. I'll just give a quick shout out to West Coast Eagles BF pod. I hope I've pronounced that right, mate. Shout out to you if you're a listener. But I love your work on Twitter. And he just gave a big shout out to Tim Kelly's game, obviously. 20 disposals with just the one turnover, led West Coast for clearances, led them for inside 50s and 6 big tackles as well. And all came in a clutch time. I thought that he was excellent. I really tried to fit him into the top 5.
So did I.
Couldn't quite do it, but responding from being left out of selection last week, and geez, if we can have that from Tim Kelly every week, we're going to be in a good spot coming through the middle. He was the connector. He's a really good receiving player, as we know. Is he a downhill skier, or does he just function better in a good team? You can't really blame him for that. So really good to see Tim return to the league side and show a bit, and hopefully that can continue on next week. It's time to dig a little bit deeper into the nuts and bolts of the game, Rhino. You're going to kick us off with another new segment this week before we get into the stats and the KPIs. As always, this one's called From the Stands. You were at the game, mate. What did you see from the stands? It might have gone unnoticed, but stood out to you.
Well, I really want to first emphasise the difference in the teams that I saw from last year to this year. What I love to see was the hunger the boys showed into scoring points, getting a tackle. I want to bring up a spoil that was mentioned in the Fox Footy with Tom McCarthy on centre wing. Those are the sort of things that we weren't doing last year, shutting down like 3 uncontested possessions out on the wing, and we weren't actually doing that. We forced North to stop their forward momentum on a multitude of occasions within the second and third quarter, grabbing intercepts, turnovers, and playing with a real combination of patience in build-up, electricity, pace, and players like Bo Allen, who the biggest fan of Bo Allen, first of all. But Bo Allen blasted out a half back, sends a bomb kick 70 metres to a one-on-one with Waterman, leads to a Cripper goal in the span of 10 seconds. And that's what Minnie's trying to get out of the boys. Quick, electric, turnover style of play. And we could see the players were really starting to trust Minnie's style of play during the game. It was great to see the combination of youth and experience and the crowd. The crowd yesterday was absolutely deafening. Definitely got the boys over the line. Can't ask much more from the boys. And shall I say it, North are on fraud watch for the rest of the season. And if the boys keep playing like this, I know that's a bit of a cliche, really, being serious, but we climbed to 12th in the ladder. Maybe we could fight for 12th to the 15th range. I might be pushing. But we put ourselves in a great position. And it's good momentum that we won the last half against Gold Coast. And now that we've won a game at home, that's the next goal, I think, for these boys, is to make Optus Stadium a fortress again. And what we saw was 47,000 fans at the West Coast game on the weekend and only 44,000 at the Freo game, which shows who's the real kings of Perth. But the Eagle Rock at the end, how good.
Yeah. I had so much FOMO from that game. So it looked like the supporters were absolutely pivotal in getting the boys over the line. So round of applause, guys.
Round of applause.
Well done, though. It was so good to see. And as you said, if we can turn off the stadium into a bit of a fortress, it's going to go a long way.
100%. Kurt, you wanted to talk about KPIs this week, the more like hard yard research. What do you reckon? We getting onto that?
Yeah, mate. Look, it was a pretty good day on the stat sheet, as you'd expect. The main probably concern was in the centre bounce with Tristan Sherry dominating the hitouts. They actually doubled us 54 to 27, which wasn't great. It led to North being +9 in the clearances. But as we've seen so far unfolding this year, you can lose the clearance battle and still win the game if your transition game is on. And as we saw, the boys are red hot from quarter time onwards in that aspect. You talk 100%. About Bo Allen creating some drive off halfback. I thought, as you said, the boys really just bought into the game style, which was great to see. Some better skills by foot too. We touched on it before. It was just refreshing to say the least. And we finally got to see the way that Minnie wants to move the footy when players weren't missing every second target.
That's right.
So I think that a lot of people who've been giving Minnie a lot of flack need to sort of just take a back seat and appreciate what he's done. And in terms of some of the actual metrics and some of the measurables that he'll be looking at, though, inside forward 50s +11 was great. You said we had a lot of time in forward half, which was excellent. Contested possessions +20, so that's the big one. We know that we've been going to work on our contest. Coming up against a pretty good North Melbourne midfield, they're missing a couple. in there with the Wardlaw types who are, the real contested beasts. But I thought we did great in that aspect. We're minus 13 in turnovers. So that's probably the main one. We were able to use the footy, and that just gave us a chance to give our forwards a look. We saw our big key forwards kicked 7 goals between them, the 4 of them. So that was excellent to see, just with some nice entries. Our smalls were obviously able to get to work as well. 12 tackles inside forward 50 for the game, which is great. Probably 10 of them, Milan Murdoch. But that was so good to see. And, North Melbourne led the game for 41 seconds longer than we did in total, but they weren't able to hold out when it mattered. And
That's
so
right.
Just comes back to that maturity piece, as we said. If they can do that every week, we're going to win some games, which is just what we're looking for. So
100%, mate.
I think that's the main thing. We don't need to delve too deep into the stats. Obviously, such an amazing game. You just take it for what it is. And when you're winning games of footy, you're doing something right.
Yeah, just celebrate it while we can. Like, this is the first win of the season. I'm expecting a few more. What do you reckon?
Yeah, hopefully.
Well, mate, we've been talking about all the points and the KPIs. What do you reckon about Kurt's big call? We bring it up today. Let's do it.
Yeah, missed the mark a little bit with Josh Lindsay. It's not a great look when you pencil a bloke in for the main distributor role off halfback and only for him to be dropped. So in fairness, we did mention
dropped.
We were fearful of his job security with Baker coming back.
We made that a point, just to be clear.
Just on that though, it looked like a fair call with the team balance, didn't it? And
it did.
It was good to have the mature heads back there, and Tim Kelly comes into the side. He might not have had a spot if Josh Lindsay was playing. So I thought that worked out fine. I apologise to the West Coast selection.
So do I. I said we'd write on this podcast if Josh Lindsay played, but Minnie, we're going to give you...
Hey, it made for good content.
Well done, mate.
That's all we're after. But this week, pretty simple one again. Devon Robertson must be given a hard tagging role on Zach Butters this week. Connor Rozee is injured, so their midfield is a little bit less dynamic. Jason Horne-Francis might come in and take his place, but that leaves their forward line quite bland. We know that Zach Butters dominated us in the preseason. I caught a glimpse of him on Sunday. I don't know if you saw a bit of that game against the Bombers, but he barely even got out of second gear and just absolutely put him to the sword. So if we've got any chance of making this a contest, we need to quell his influence. And he is a hard man to tag, but we've seen it done in the past, especially earlier on in his career.
100%.
I think that Dev's the man to do it. He's got the speed and the endurance to go with him. You think about Jack Graham, Elliot Yeo. I don't want to see them tagging.
No, they're gonna have a tough night if they're gonna tag running all day with Butters. He's running is top class. It's elite.
I think Dev will embrace the challenge mentally too. You see him. I don't know how many times I saw him. Just going hard after a chase after you made a mistake or something. Just puts his head down and gets after it. The whole team is going to come for you when you're hard tagging. And so you need someone who's mentally able to cope with the challenge. And I think that Dev is just a no-brainer. And I'd be shattered, mate, if we don't go there. And at quarter time, he's had 13 touches, 2 goals and 8 score involvements.
Yeah, that'd be devastating.
Porter 40-odd points up. That'd be a horrible result. So we have to learn from the past. We have to learn from the preseason. Look at last week. He was absolutely instrumental in their win. And as we said, once they were able to put on a bit of a buffer on Essendon, there was just no catching him. So hopefully we learn from that and Dev Robertson gets the job on Zach Butters.
Yeah, with Jason Horne-Francis as well coming into the midfield, it would be good to see the battle with him and Harley. Have some beef in the past few games.
That's going to be good to watch.
That'll be good to watch. So maybe stay tuned, guys, because that is going to be a fiery start to the game if Jason Horne-Francis is starting at centre bounce with Harley Reid on him. So
that keen.
We
know that Harley doesn't need much of an excuse to get up and about either. So that's going to be good to see. But speaking of next week, mate, I hate to move on from this game, but we are going to have a little bit of a look forward before we jump back into some listener feedback and see what everyone's feeling about, obviously, the win on the weekend. Unfortunately, mate, Harry Edwards has suffered a head knock in 2 head knocks in close succession now. So that's at least one forced change for us this week. We spoke about Jamie Cripps, who potentially popped out his shoulder, and Liam Baker as well hobbled off with an injury late on. Apparently he said he's okay, but we'll see where that ends up. How many changes do you think we're going to have, mate? Do you think we'll look at making any selection calls rather than forced changes after a good win?
Well, I think there'll be a forced change with Harry. That's pretty obvious. Sure. Well, Sandy had a really good preseason game against Port. He was probably one of our better players. I think he comes straight in. Yeah,
it's good to see we've got Sandy and Rhett there as well.
Two pretty good options come in at key back.
They're going well, so we'll be okay there.
100%. And Jacob Newton's the other one that we touched on as well. Probably one of the least impacting players on the game in the last 2 games. But to be honest, like, his pressure that you don't see off the ball was pretty instrumental with him and Milan. They're 2 very elite quick forwards. If we're replacing him with Harry Schoenberg or Malachi Champion. We don't know what we're going to get. And if we just keep staying with the winning formula, then why? If we're winning a game, why would you change it, right?
Yeah,
that's
I agree.
the question.
I sort of threw you under the bus there with the run sheet, putting Jacob Newton on there.
Yeah.
I think that he's probably the only one that would make way in selection. I don't think that they'll drop Matt Flynn.
No, they won't.
You've done well, mate, there under the gun. You had no idea that was coming. And then Liam Baker, as we said, hopefully there's no injury there. We're going to find out over the coming days, and make sure you're following Golden Wings on Instagram for the regular injury updates. We try and get them out quickly and before the club even does, sometimes even days before, because we know they are shocking at covering the injuries. So make sure you're following us over there.
All right, Kurt, without further ado, we'll head into our listener feedback. Kurt, you put up a story on Instagram to our listeners. What did they come back with?
Yeah.
Must have been flooded with the win on the weekend.
It genuinely felt like the floodgates opened up. So much passion coming through. It was so good to see. Thanks for sending in all of your statements, questions, feelings, thoughts. There was a lot of inappropriate stuff getting in there, which we love. But definitely can't share on the podcast today, unfortunately. Obviously, can't read them all. There were a couple of double ups too, but keep sending them in every week. We'll get to yours eventually. It just helps us get you involved and also find out how you're feeling about the game so that we're not tone deaf. But Alex had one to kick us off, which I thought was really interesting. It sort of mirrored my thoughts with what I was thinking during the game.
Yeah,
he said, if we can land 2 players in the trade period around the age of 26, we're fucking on. And I was sitting there watching the game and thinking the exact same thing around that third quarter when the whips were really cracking, thinking if we had a Chad Warner, a Lockie Neal or a Bobby Hill out there, just a couple more premiership experienced players, real top of their game in their line in that age bracket, mate.
We could have made it like a 55-point win or something like that.
That's all the difference that it is.
That's right.
They would have seen bits and pieces of that game. I'm certain of it.
Yeah,
they would have. I'm certain Jed Walder probably would have watched the whole thing. We've got a little bit of intel on that. But if we keep winning games, mate, in front of an electric crowd, as we touched on before,
mate, the crowd,
all of these
talented
youngsters, a powerhouse footy club, as we said, will be a destination club again
100%
soon. So need to keep these wins flowing, mate. But I absolutely agree. A couple of more seasoned, top of the line players. And this club is going to be right back where it needs to be, winning games of footy, which is great. We'll get through some quick fire now. Thomas sent in, how good was a 4-headed monster up forward, especially Duff, man. We touched on that before. So good to see.
So good to see, yeah. All right, Dougie sent in, Jimby had 19 1%ers. And we talk about Jimby a lot in this podcast because he goes under the radar in the media over East. But this guy is a serious player. So what do you think? 19 1%ers, that's unreal.
Massive. So good to see. Hadji, 89 sent in. Archer's coming of age in that first half. Couldn't agree more, mate. It was so good to see him back up and firing. Tyler gave a shout out to Jack Graham's on-ball pressure, which I agree with. So good to see. And it's the mature age players like that are going to get you the wins at the end of the day. And we saw some real vintage performances.
Yeah, that goes back to the question before from Alex about the getting more 25 age players in, like Jack Graham, like Liam Baker. That they were instrumental in getting us over the line. They didn't have the explosive players like CDT and Willem Dersma, but the stuff off the ball, like the tackles from Jack Graham, that's just what wins you games of footy. The little 1%ers like Ruben Jimby, like from before. Yeah.
Cal sent in, if we win a game with 3 good quarters, imagine when we play 4. And I think that that's so true. 100%. Really great signs there. And Keela as well, I think speaks for all of us when she says that. She doesn't have to go into work depressed all week.
Yeah.
So true. So true. I hope you guys enjoyed the W as much as we did. To finish us off, our friend of the show, Adam from the Bat Banner podcast, sent in a pretty good synopsis. I think the fight, the effort, the tackling. Yes, it's only one game, and yes, it is only against North Melbourne, mate. Don't get too carried away. No. But this is a different West Coast, and I think it's so true.
It is. It's 100% so true. And you're starting to see the talent these boys have got and mini style of play, and we just couldn't be more happy with what the boys showed out on the weekend.
So good waking up on a Monday morning on the winners list. Thanks for joining us again this week. Ryan, if our listeners want to support the show, what should they do?
All right, take a moment to subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're almost at 1,000 followers. Please support the channel. We can get monetized and we can have this studio full time. It would be absolutely great. Follow along on the Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Leave us a 5-star rating and make sure to follow us at Golden Wings Podcast on the Instagram. And don't miss the throughout the week news that Kurt puts up. It's unbelievable stuff. We're ahead of the curve. We're ahead of West Coast in the terms of getting our news out. Follow us along if you want to get the breaking news. And Kurt?
Oh, you've done well, Rhino. Beautiful. Well done, mate. Another good potty out the way. Thank you so much for joining us, as we said. Hopefully back to review another win, mate. It felt so weird.
Yeah.
I think I've reviewed one in my time as a podcaster, 63 podcasts down. And this is the second win that we've been able to review. So felt very weird. Didn't really know where to start, but so good to have you guys along with us. And we'll be back again next week.
100% be back next week, guys. Thank you again.
Catch ya.
Catch you later.